Okay, so just one thing before we start to play. Just want to say that from our perspective, from my perspective, the world is essentially composed of people who like to be in the herd, and then there are the notable exceptions. And I think Amit Saigal was one of those notable exceptions that makes the world a better place. Now, I personally didn't know Amit that well because I was in New York at the time when Amit was really doing his thing. But I really appreciate everything that he did. I bumped into him a few times at some music conferences and stuff. Very nice guy, very soft-spoken chap. And when I moved back to Bombay in 2008, I guess I was lucky enough amongst a lot of other people to benefit from a lot of the work that Amit had done for the independent music scene. And it's only fitting that a tribute be set up for people like Amit, and certainly for Amit Saigal himself, because we're all out there doing the stuff that we're doing because of the contributions and the incredible work that someone like Amit has done, and this goes out to him.
Cause you're lazy. If I believe that I'm crazy, I need a messiah. Take me higher. I need a messiah. Take me higher. I need a messiah to take me higher. I'm looking for the Mahatma I see sitting at a salad bar. Looking for the Mahatma. He got away, but he couldn't have got too far. Looking for the Mahatma I see sitting at a salad bar. Looking for the Mahatma. He got away, but he couldn't have got too far. Yeah.
There was a big rock scene in the 80s and in the 90s. But Amit was one of those guys who actually, brought it all together, through his magazine and then all his efforts in putting, all the festivals together. I mean, there were people doing it, but he did it really, really well. And he did it from a small town. He started in Allahabad, and then, he moved on to Delhi, and he did a lot for the music scene, when there really wasn't a music scene as such.
He's one of the two guys I know who's actually done some big things for Indian rock music and independent music with JIR and also putting out RSJ. I mean, you gotta have balls to do stuff like that, firstly. And to support a cause and a music style where there's so much of talent and so much of audience, where local media, in whatever, electronic, print form, doesn't support it at all, it's a big deal, and I mean, big props to him, really.
Man, Amit was like a big part of the whole music scene in India when I was a kid. If it wasn't for his Rock Street Journal, I guess I wouldn't have known how to play chords wrong when I was a kid. Only because I couldn't read them right. But that was the only source of rock and roll that we had when I was a kid.
I need a messiah, take me higher. I need a messiah, oh yeah. I'm looking for the Mahatma I see sitting at a salad bar. Looking for the Mahatma. He got away, but he couldn't have got too far. Looking for the Mahatma I see sitting at a salad bar. Looking for the Mahatma. He got away, but he couldn't have got too far. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Thank you.
In 92 or 93 or something like that, he started Rock Street Journal, the magazine, and it was just like a couple of leaflets, stapled together, that kind of thing, reporting about different rock shows that happened around the country.
Just to conceptualize Rock Street Journal as a magazine, when people were not even looking at lifestyle magazines, and for him to come about saying that screw this whole lifestyle and sports and things like that, I want to start a music magazine, I think was way ahead of his time in terms of what he was trying to do.
See, the thing is, we came around 98, and at that time the internet was just starting to come on. Now before the internet, I think RSJ was pretty much the only publication devoted to the indie rock scene.
every single person who was ever influenced by Rock Street Journal magazine or ever got into anything because of that. And it's all from this guy's just random idea. In Allahabad of all fucking places, they think, man, I'll do something in this rock scene. Let me copy paste from foreign articles and put shit in, because people here are never going to see it otherwise, man. And man, seriously, that's I guess how it started out. Eventually, it became much bigger than that.
He has to go to Raghuwala and get them because he used to have like a whole stack of them. And then I went to Amit's house and there were like back issues from like the very first issue, and I was like, okay, I'll talk to you later. Going to the magazines and stuff like that.
Some of our best memories of playing live have been playing in Delhi at Hamshadwani, like at a GIR that Amit Saigal organized. And it would be crazy to see on stage, like we're here and there's like the entire Hamshadwani stadium is packed. And you know one guy's made that possible, and like you're playing to, I don't know, 7,000 odd people or something like that. It's like words can't add up to what that feeling is like. And for a band witnessing that for the first time, like he showed us what that felt like for the first time.
With Great Indian Rock, he did open doors to a lot of bands. With my band Zero, we played there and got recognized in Delhi for the first time because of the fact that we, played Great Indian Rock.
GR for also the magnitude about putting a competition together for bands to compete and get sent abroad to perform, and getting down big international acts, which was few and far between many years ago.
Every single GIR had at least 2 or 3 awesome metal bands, even up to a point where metal bands would come and start headlining GIR. Bands like Enslaved, Satiricon, he got down Meshuggah. He was single-handedly responsible for that. Not just that, sending 4 of India's finest metal bands out of the country, Demonic Resurrection, Scribe, Undying Ink, and like us, like he's done a lot for the scene.
We had 2 shows. One of them was opening up for Aerosmith, another one was playing at this Inland Invasion Festival where Incubus, Offspring and it was like a festival. Major bands of that time, indie bands of that time were playing, and we opened for them. So that was through GIR, his annual rock festival competition thing that he has.
You set the pace, you can win this race. This is a carrot chase. The pace at which we're going, we show no sign of slowing. Gotta lose my inhibitions, leave behind the daily rhythms, and go where it's dark and delicious. I'm so uptight, can't get nothing right but start a fight. These days, throw up my hands, no demands, can't take no stand. These days, there's no honey, no kissing, no loving, no public hugging. These days, I'm bruised and sore, I'ma open that door and break the place at which we're going.
Then he got a lot of people into the scene, there were many bands that we had never heard of, but because of this cassette, the GIR compilations that he'd come out with, we heard so-and-so bands, and then we could call them over to Raspberry Analysis to play.
I remember waiting for that little cassette, the Great Indian Rock compilation. Yeah, and that used to get me through, okay, cool, other bands are doing this, so there's hope for us.
The whole pub rock festival that happened, that was a first time thing as well.
He had this Rocktober Fest. He facilitated a lot of meetings. He made you meet someone else and someone else meet someone else.
And right until recently, he kind of forayed into setting up this India Music Week, which was a great platform to bring foreign musicians into the country and on the same platform and talk about the music business. So he went beyond just metal and rock music. I think he kind of embraced it because he listened to all kinds of music.
still gonna get
My oldest memory of Amit, I must have been 5 or 6. And he was the coolest family member I'd ever had as a kid. He had the power to make everyone feel good. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, everyone would have had their individual relationship with Amit.
His house would be open to anyone to come in, and you could be someone who he doesn't even know, but you have a house to stay in Delhi. You know, you could really just get into his house and stay there for like 3 days, and then after 3 days he'd be like, so where are you from? You know, that kind of a guy.
He's just a crazy guy. Like he'd call you up and you'd be like, hello, 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 and you know, you'd be like, oh, okay, Amit, you know, like, and he had a whole lot of funny things that he used to keep saying, like, bada bim, bada boom, when he was saying bye. He actually wanted to be a musician. Secretly inside him was a musician. He wanted to be on stage doing the things we are doing, you know. That's what he really wanted to do. So he did all these things with full passion.
Amit was a buddy, man. I used to go to Delhi and stay at his place. He'd come to Bombay and he'd call me and he'd say, fully fantastic, bloody Madras. Come to hotel room, so and so, come anytime, fantastic. And then you land up there and everybody from the Bombay scene was there. And then you all hung out and you always had a good time with Amit. There was no time ever where I saw him like dejected or fucked up about anything. If like shit was going down also, he was very, okay, let's sort it out. Relax.
For every rock musician, for every sort of musician in any possible way. He's been the guy who's given that step to newer bands, not only established bands, you know, which was very important because once you become a big sort of personality, it's very easy to just look at the bigger things and forget about the smaller sort of bands and the smaller sort of people. And that was one great thing about him. He always looked for the newest sort of sound and the newest bands, and he always gave them a platform. So, I mean, he was a legend in every right.
Not too many people know the amount of things that he had his hands in and was responsible for. So that's how I will always remember, Amit, in terms of being this guy who just loved to get drunk and throw parties and do something for a larger cause and not necessarily just for the fact that it's going to affect few people around him.
Everybody at some point has gone through this Rock Street Journal moment, which has influenced them on some level.
Pick up the sound of the earth of your mind, throw it forward. Fill up the bottle with the flames of thought, low and low. And I'm tasting God's milk, sticks, milk, chills, bring the tanks back, tanks back. Things that make a bit, time to be a beat, tanks back.
It's not been too long, but there have been a lot of people now that have recognized what he was trying to do and what he has achieved.
Time's up, and tomorrow's decided. Too long you and I quiet. You can't win, deny it. Rise up, now rise up. Set your sights up, and tomorrow's decided. Pick up the sound from the earth of your mind.
Amit was one of those guys who didn't just talk about it, he actually did it. And we need more people who will not just talk, but walk the walk.
I'm tasting God's field, sticks, milk, shields, beat the tanks back, tanks back. Make a step, make a fist, fight the fear, beat the tanks back, tanks back. Too long you and I've been quiet, watching and waiting to try. Rise up, now rise up, let your sights up, and tomorrow's decided. Too long you and I've been quiet, too scared to win, deny it. Rise up, now rise up, set your sights up, and tomorrow's decided.
No one's ever gonna forget a guy like Amit Saigal. I mean, I will never, so for sure.
So they're running, they're running. We know they're losing. But all we've got to do is stand up, stand up.
Amit Saigal was an entity on his own. And that's what we were celebrating today. He's done his bit. He started it. And now let everyone continue it.
Say, take what he's taking, get what he's giving, do what he's doing. Stand up, stand up. For too long, you and I, we've been quiet. Too long, you and I, we've been quiet. Watching, waiting to try. For too long, you and I. I want to see all your cocky hands up in the air.
Okay? Fully fantastic.